What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today's show is also being rebroadcast on the Jeff Meacham Network. Thank you very much, Mr. Meacham, for allowing us to come onto the network as we do every other week in lieu of the dads not always on wrestling. And today I'm going to be discussing 2013's Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Michael Shannon, Kevin Costner, Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, and Russell Crowe. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said at the top of the show, today we're going to be discussing Man of Steel, which will be broadcast at its regular time on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as it is every day, and then rebroadcast an hour later on the Jeff Meacham Network in the spot that usually would be the dads not always on wrestling, as we alternate over there every week, as we have ever since this show was resurrected. But enough about that, enough small talk. Let's get into Man of Steel, the first Superman movie to take place inside of the DCEU. And as our movie opens, the planet Krypton is destabilized from the mining of the planetary core. Just before the planet explodes, Krypton's Supreme Council Chief Advisor, Jor-El, infuses the genetics codex into his infant son, Kal-El, the first naturally born Kryptonian child in centuries. Jor-El manages to send Kal-El in a spacecraft toward Earth before being killed by General Zod during an uprising. Kal-El lands in Kansas, where he is adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent and rechristened Clark. As he grows older, Clark develops superhuman powers that Jonathan urges for him to keep hidden, even refusing Clark's help years later during a tornado incident where Jonathan loses his life. Burdened with the guilt over his adopted father's death, Clark travels the globe, hiding under various aliases while seeking a purpose in his life. Meanwhile, Daily Planet reporter Lois Lane receives an assignment to investigate the discovery of a Kryptonian scout ship in the Canadian Arctic. Clark enters the ship disguised as a worker, and learns from its artificial intelligence, which is modeled after his biological father, Jor-El, that Clark was sent to Earth in order to guide its people. While following Clark, Lois inadvertently triggers the ship's security system, and he uses his powers to rescue Lois from its defenses. He then wears a uniform provided by the ship's AI and begins to test his flying abilities. Unable to convince Supervisor Perry White to publish an article on the incident, Lois tracks down Clark in Smallville with the intent of exposing him. However, Lois drops the story upon hearing of Jonathan Kent's sacrifice, keeping Clark's identity safe, but fueling Perry's suspicions. Zod and his crew escape the Phantom Zone, where they were imprisoned for treason for their actions against Krypton. They travel to Earth with desires to turn it into a new Krypton, possessing several terraforming devices salvaged from Kryptonian outposts. Following Clark and Lois's capture, Zod's science officer, Jax Ur, extracts Clark's genes in order to create Kryptonian colonists who will build a society based on Zod's ideals of genetic purity. Using the Jor-El AI to take over the ship, Clark and Lois flee and warn the U.S. military of Zod's plan, resulting in an explosive confrontation between Clark and Zod's troops. Zod deploys his most powerful terraforming device, the World Engine, which severely damages Metropolis and puts humanity's existence at risk. Given the code name Superman, Clark destroys the terraforming platform while the military launches a suicide attack, sending Zod's troops back to the Phantom Zone. With the ship destroyed and Krypton's only hope of revival gone, Zod vows to destroy Earth and its inhabitants out of revenge. The two Kryptonians engage in a lengthy battle across Metropolis, which concludes when Clark is forced to kill Zod as he attacks a family in a train station. Clark adopts the moniker of Superman and persuades the government to let him act independently under the condition that he does not turn against humanity. In order to gain covert access to dangerous situations, Clark takes a job under his civilian identity as a freelance reporter for the Daily Planet. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to waste any time hemming and hawing here. I'm not going to sit here BSing. We have a very special guest that I'm going to bring onto the show here to help discuss this movie. Give it up for the man, the myth, the legend himself, the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham. Jeff, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on and discussing this as you do with me a couple times a month.
Jay, there are many opinions to seek on this movie and this franchise. Here in this Fortress of Solitude, we will decipher this long-ass movie together.
Most definitely. Yeah. I love that you are within the Fortress of Solitude. It's like Santa Clarita is in of itself a Fortress of Solitude.
No kidding.
There ain't a whole lot to do, and I ain't never even been out there.
Jesus, that's like
I've just heard the rumors.
Yeah, once you get past Magic Mountain and Drew Barrymore eating people, it's kind of about it around here. Yeah.
So you were kind of surprised because originally we had been advertising that you were going to be on Batman versus Superman. I don't know what happened, our count of the days.
Yeah.
But you were talking on the previous shows about how it was ironic that you weren't going to be on a Superman movie, considering that up until really I came into your life,
yes,
you were all about the Boy Scout. You were all about Clark Kent. You were all about the illegal alien who comes to Earth, steals our jobs, and imposes his will and belief structure upon us.
Yeah. So,
I was talking with one of my roommates, and that in a nutshell is who Superman is. Yeah. By all accounts, he should be a villain.
That's right.
Realistically speaking,
Lex got it years ago. He's this invading force, and it just no matter how many times Lex tried to make us see the light, it was just no. You're a bad person, Lex Luthor. It's like, well, yeah, he is, but that's beside the point.
So what is it about Superman? Going back to little Jeff Meacham, in his Superman underoos, eating the Superman cereal, watching the Superman Christopher Reeve movies.
Yes.
What is it about Superman that attracted you originally?
It's one of the things. I mean, you point out the Superman underoos. The fact of the matter is, my first ever superhero costume was in fact Batman. You've seen it on Facebook, whenever it was 89 or whatever, the Burton Batman. So, ironically enough, but yeah, Superman for me has just always been I mean, if you go back into the history of comics and superheroes in general, he's the prototype. Prototype. He was the first person to do. He was the first character to be a superhero. You had, different heroes, different stories over the years. Like the Sherlock Holmes and detective stories, and you had different heroes within the fantasy archetype, if you will, but never a definitive hero with superpowers beyond what we as normal humans are capable of. So it was cool to see that type of hero. And I mean, when you're a kid, bright colors are everything. There's, red and yellow in his symbol, just sharing, as a wrestling fan. So that definitely drew me into that as far as Hulk goes with the colors. Bright colors are everything to children, man. They leech onto that. They leech onto visual stimuli. Superman is very much a catacomb of bright colors. And other than the 2 years Batman, the 3 years Batman TV series was on, Batman's not that character. He's dark. There's black. There's grays. There's whites. That's it. That's all you get.
That's why he's the Dark Knight.
Exactly. With Superman, you got a little bit of everything. And you mentioned the Reeve movies. To this day, Jay, hand to God, when that scene hits and Superman flies up the side of that skyscraper, catches Lois, don't worry, miss, I've got you. You got me. Who's got you? I say the line with Lois, and I chuckle myself stupid every single time without fail. So that entire series of movies, yes, even 4, resonated with me for many, many years. When they decided to do this, after I don't want to call Returns a botch, because I like Returns personally. And you mentioned on your review, I believe it was a review, maybe it was to me privately, that that scene where he gives the Jor-El speech to his son with Lois just reduces me to a hot mess. Like, it's as a father now, when we weren't parents in 2006 and now we look back onto this parents, it's a whole different end scene, whole different dynamic when you watch that movie now. When they went with this, and I liken it to the reboot of Star Trek. Because everybody was like, this isn't what Gene would do. This is dark. This is gritty. Blah, blah, blah. Same with this. This is very much, this guy up here, this guy right here is not a Boy Scout. He does good things. He does good deeds. He saves people. He rescues people from danger. But he is no saint at all. Nor was Jor-El, Russell Crowe. Nor was anybody in this movie a saint. So it was a different direction to take on Superman. It was a risky move, and I applaud it. Now, I know that everybody sitting home is going, Jeff, this movie's 2.5 hours long, and 2 hours of his exposition. You're right. 100% correct. It is. And I like telling Jay the story all the time of getting the series of movies I got as a gift from our mutual friend Rob, and watching Man of Steel on the way to basically Central California, up in Medford, or Merced, rather. Excuse me, Merced. It took the entire train ride from Bakersfield to Merced, and the movie took that long. When the train departed, I started it. When we pulled in, it was over. And I'm like, wow, that was long. So my first impression of this is, if this is a reboot, it's going to be a long series. But over the course of being able to watch it in the last, whatever it's been now, 8 years, it's good. It's a good movie. And this and the sequel you're going to cover tomorrow, as I mentioned, when we were going to do that one together, get way too much crap heaped upon them, by and large.
Now that I have seen all the Christopher Reeve movies in their entirety, I think I can realize why this movie is so long. They essentially jammed the best of part 1 and the best of part 2 into Man of Steel.
Yep.
Because, as we established a few times covering those movies, it was originally shot to be one movie anyway.
Yes.
So split into 2. And then there was the whole Donner Lester issue,
right?
Whatever. So Man of Steel kind of seems to like it went back to that vision where it took the best of Superman the movie,
right,
and the best of Superman 2, and squished the 4 hours of that
Yeah.
into 2.5 hours.
Yeah. If you
Now
figure,
it makes sense why it's so long to me. And
yep.
I'm not going to say that it still couldn't use from about 20 minutes of editing, but I can appreciate its length a little bit more having seen all of those, because now it makes sense to me.
Because you figure, when you reboot a franchise, you have to tell the origin story. That's rule number one. If you're going to reboot a hero franchise or a fantasy franchise, you have to tell how we got to where we are. And with Kal-El, go ahead.
I was going to say, but Superman's a character that's been in existence at this point, 2013, like 80 years. We know
75,
the
yeah.
story.
Right, but
We don't need it told again.
no.
They could kind of, I wouldn't say completely bypass the Krypton destruction, because you do need that.
Right.
But they could have kind of done like they did with Spider-Man in Civil War. It's like, okay, this is 6 months since he was bitten by the spider. He's got his powers now. Let's move on. You already know from the last 5 films how the F this happened. He has his powers.
Yeah.
He's had them for 6 months. Moving right along. They could have maybe started the film in Smallville, had a brief flashback when he found the AI of Jor-El, kind of retelling the story of how Krypton was destroyed.
Right.
But kind of, that probably would have saved a good half hour right there.
I will say this. At least in the movie form, and it's my observation that the movie makers tend to ignore his formative years in Smallville. Remember the first one, we go from he's a kid to the high school scene to his father dies to find the crystal. He goes in the fortress and he comes out 12 years later as Christopher Reeve. And that's it. Yeah. That's all we get of him being brought up. In Returns, we get a little bit more because Martha has been retconned into surviving past 3 and 4. So, we get a little bit of Smallville. And 3, we definitely get a lot of Smallville because Lana Lang's the love interest. And, the majority of his story takes place within the confines of Smallville. Of course, if you're a TV fan, you've seen 10 years of Smallville, you know the story, at least what the version they told. It's my observation that movie makers tend to try to assume the audience's ignorance. And I'm not saying that's always the right way to go, because it's not. Like you said, at this point, Superman's around for damn near 75 years. So we know what's going to happen here, right? But, if you're going to take a twist on the story and turn it, like I said, grittier, more rougher than the Reeve movies and the Brandon Routh reboot, you have to kind of tweak the origin to how you want people to see it. You want, to feel that angst of young Clark Kent as his senses are just completely effed with, because that moment in the classroom where he has to bail into that broom closet and his senses are just overwhelming him, when Zod attacks later and has the same thing happen to him when Clark says, I had to tune my senses, you know what. So it ties together there later in the movie. Not saying it had to be that friggin' long at all. The different scenes where he's a grown-up, where he saves the guys on the boat, where he completely mangles that guy's truck at the bar, which is just a great scene that I wish they would have had a bonus of him actually doing that, because that was tremendous how that guy's truck looked. Having worked at the truck stop, I'd walk out there and go, yeah, I quit. I can't. If I walk out and see that, I'm not messing with anybody ever again. I'm the hell gone. And notice, he packed up his apron and he left. He wanted to make sure he wasn't accounted for. But that truck sure let people know he was there. That scene, not necessarily necessary. The thing on the boat and the rescue with the fire, a little bit shorter sequence than it needed to be. But I think, again, the overall theme of this movie is it's way too much. Okay, he's got powers. Okay, we get it. Can we, as you said, shorten it by 20 to a half hour, and you're good to go. As far as putting Best of 1 and 2 in, you're exactly right. They told his origin, they told how he met Lois, and they brought Zod into the picture. And it was, I think if Donner and the Salkinds had been able to get there together, man, it would have been long, but it would have been cool to have that be the story and not worry about having 3 or 4 ever happened, because God. And then, down the line you could do, Lana being reintroduced into the story, and and see how that, that brief little high school scene, goes into Annette O'Toole taking the role. So I understand people's complaints and criticisms of the overall length of this and the over exposition, but I kind of understand why the filmmakers did it to an extent. But yeah, shorten it, you're good to go.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely understand it now, having seen the rest, because granted, I knew Superman's origin,
Right.
despite never having seen the movies, but this was the first time I had physically seen it play out in a movie.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because I saw this before I saw the Reeve ones.
Wow. So you had never seen the originals from 78 and 81? Or 82,
No.
whatever it was. Wow. That
Like
wow.
I said when we did recap, I think it was at the end of last month, the
right.
only one I had seen was 4.
Wow. Oh, that's right. I felt so terrible for you. I'm like, wow, you got a low bar to get the hell out of that in a hurry.
So seeing 1 through 3 was a brand new experience for me.
Nice. Now, again, I know you reviewed the 1 version. Did you end up watching both versions of 2?
No, not yet.
Okay. Gotta watch them both.
I will eventually watch the Lester version, but I had to see the Donner version. I felt like that was, the continuation of the original vision.
Yep.
So I had to go with that one for the review.
Okay, good. Yeah, because like I've told you, Lester's is not bad. It's a lot of hodgepodge to fill what he had to film to get directorial credits. So
much like, and I'm going to go ahead and break this here, I'm going to be watching the Snyder Justice League.
Oh, you are watching it? Good, because I need to watch that myself. I haven't had a good excuse.
I mean, I do own the original version.
As do I.
But I've heard so much about the Snyder cut that when I saw it at my work, I figured, yoink.
Especially for the war prices.
And it's ironic because I'm going to touch on this here because I feel like it pertains to Man of Steel. But it really was the introduction in Justice League, like the first few minutes where they're watching back old video of Superman after his death in Batman versus Superman.
Right.
That made me really gravitate toward Cavill's Man of Steel.
Cool.
Just the charm he exuded in those opening sequences. After pissing on this movie for as long as I did because of it being so long, so dry, so much exposition.
Yes.
I don't do that now because I've seen the other 4. It makes sense to me, as I've said. But that opening sequence in Justice League, which, we'll get to in a few days, that right there sold me on him as Superman. He became my Superman with that scene.
Well, I mean, there you go. This generation, if you're seeing Superman for the first time, he is your Superman. So that's totally, that's okay.
I liked him in Bat Versus, which again we'll get to tomorrow.
Yes.
But that's what sold me on him.
Definitely. And just for point of reference, because I am the Superman guy, the Snyder Cut is officially considered non-canon by the official DCEU people. It's kind of like the Buffy movie compared to the Buffy series. Even Joss goes, yeah, the movie's cute, but nope. So, and ironically, Joss did the theatrical of Justice League, so there you go. I did just hit me in my head. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. So, yeah, Joss, and again, Joss gets a lot of shit these days, and I'm sure you'll get into that if you need to down the line here. But, for lack of a better term, the official Warner Brothers stance is non-canon on the Snyder Cut. So,
okay. Then I don't know. Then maybe I will go ahead and watch the theatrical version since that is the DCEU, and that's the part I'm in right now.
And also keep in mind that we don't know what the future is DCEU because, again, you're going to get into the end of it here toward the end of the month. But, past Birds of Prey, Shazam, and all that. We don't know if they're going to continue on with the story we've got, or if Robert Pattinson and the Cape and Cow is going to be a whole new situation. So
True. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. What did you think about the casting for this film? Other than Cavill, Amy Adams is Lois, Lawrence Fishburne is Perry, Kevin Costner and Diane Lane is Jonathan and Martha. What are your thoughts on the casting for this film? Because I feel like they really tried to pull no punches.
Yep. I mean, much like, again, I'm gonna repeat this often as when I'm with you on these movie reviews. When you're casting a franchise movie, and there's so much in the past of, do I have to live up to? Do I have to? I mean, God, can you imagine putting on those red boots and that cape and everything after Christopher Reeve, after Dean Cain, after Tom Welling, after all these people? That would be a bitch to have to step into those shoes, or those boots rather. Same with Amy Adams as Lois. I mean, I mentioned the line from Margot Kidder, "Who you got me, who's got you?" It's like, there is no, in my scope, her, Margot Kidder and Terry Hatcher are Lois Lane. Everybody else is just trying to play, for third place. I mean, it's hard, but Amy did a really good job. Much like Lois has been envisioned lately, she pulls no bull punches. She takes no bullshit. Is she a damsel in distress often? Yeah, a little too much for me toward the end, where she's way too much in peril. It's like, okay, she hasn't been in peril for an hour 45. All of a sudden, she can't take care of her own shit. Come on, give me a break. Granted, you got Kryptonians trying to kill her, so that I get. Other than that, I mean, we all love Amy Adams, at least on these two channels. I don't know about other people in our circle. I
asked my niece if she recognized her because I was watching it in the house, and she was like, no. And then I was like, what if she was singing "I'm Having a Me Party"? And like her eyes kind of brightened a little bit. It's adorable.
Now, what you do is you have her. I need Amy Adams and the Lois Gear to sing "How Does She Know?" just for fun.
There we go.
I want that song to happen right now. Anyway, make
Superman
it happen,
the musical.
Oh, jeez. There's about 20 people's nightmares I can think of off the top of my head. I'll tell you off air, there actually was a musical. Leslie Van Moren plays Lois. That's all I'm going to say. We'll talk about it off air. Oh, boy. Anyway, Lawrence Fishburne as Perry, I thought was great. I mean, Lawrence has really, God knows he's come a long, long way from the Playhouse in 30 years. Actually, over 30 years now. Yeah, it's crazy that, and again, people, you can't cast somebody. Why? Why does Perry White have to be white? Why does, I can't, the name is there, but he played a wonderful Perry White. Again, no bullshit, no punches pulled, none of that. I loved it. I loved how they didn't emphasize, okay, we have to get everybody in here. So, no Jimmy Olsen. Very little, no Lex, which is odd for a Superman movie. We get Lex
the focus
tomorrow.
Was Zod.
Right. I mean, we'll get Lex tomorrow, goodness knows. But and great casting of Lex for tomorrow, by the way. I can't wait to hear you talk about it. Oh my god. Anyway, it's really shut up. Thank you. Jag off. I can't remember his name, so forgive me, Warner Brothers gods. But the casting of Zod, he was so well cast.
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon, thank you. You believe he is this young, up-and-coming military guy who just is sick of the drama and the politics. And like, nah, my turn. I'm done with this boob shit. And you believe it. And then when he goes to, restore Krypton and then gets denied, that speech he gives right before he starts trying to really kill everybody, I was bred for this purpose, to protect. And now I have to protect, which means I have nothing. I am nothing. And then he just barrels into Clark and just starts taking him to town. And I love the struggle at the very end between Clark and Zod, that Zod's going to kill these Earthlings, and Clark just does not want to do what he has to do. And then I have to turn away, because when he turns his head, it's like,
I was going to get to that in a second, but the speech that you just mentioned very much reminded me of Bane's Born in the Darkness speech.
Yep. I was going to say, this whole...
Which Christopher Nolan had a hand in the screenplay for this. So that doesn't surprise me that, the two speeches are very eerily similar.
The move toward turning the DC universe grittier in the last, let's call it 16 years, because 2005 with Batman Begins. Before that, I mean, God, how long did we wait for a Batman movie and a Superman movie? Because they got overly campy, overly like, oh my God, this is the goofiest shit ever. I mean, Quest for Peace and Batman and Robin deserve their place in history. Right on top of the toilet seat, both of them. That's cool. Sitting right there, just waiting to be flushed away for all eternity, along with Supergirl, Lordy. But this. It's very much a purposeful shift. And I've noticed that with DC. They have definitely turned, and if you read, and I don't read all the comics, so sorry out there if you don't like that part, the New 52 that came out about a decade or so ago, everything has become very much more reality-based, very dark, not necessarily dark, but grittier, more reality and rough-based. And the movie series reflects that. There's not a whole lot of, you don't expect the freaking sign with the word "POW" on it in a zigzag lightning to come out of these movies. It ain't gonna happen. So I enjoy the fact that they've done that. And yeah, the speeches are very similar. You're absolutely right. I noticed that when I saw Man of Steel, and having seen Dark Knight Rises the year before, it was very, okay. Think about it. Bane existed to carry out Ra's al Ghul's destiny, to destroy Gotham and purge it of its weakness and its corruption and all that stuff. Zod was bred with a purpose, to protect the planet Krypton and its people. And when Kal-El made that decision to destroy the Codex or whatever it was they used, I forget the terminology, I just watched last night, but it was a blur, kind of like he is in Smallville. When that purpose is gone, when you have no purpose in your life, you become a very desperate person, and desperate people do very desperate things. And even if you're Kryptonian, and if you have no purpose in this life, then you have to create a new purpose. And the purpose became destroy the person that destroyed your purpose. And he tried, man. And he tried in a different way. He didn't try to destroy Kal-El. He tried to destroy the people Kal-El was protecting, which was just eating him inside so much he had to do what he didn't want to do.
You mentioned a minute ago about Superman breaking Zod's neck.
Yeah.
Was that the right way to go? Superman has never been a killer. Like, even Batman, rule number one is do not kill.
Right.
And here's the Boy Scout breaking a dude's neck. Granted, Zod's not exactly the nicest guy in the world. If you arrest him and jail him, he's probably going to find a way to get out.
Yes.
But isn't that what a supervillain's supposed to do? Right. How many times has the Joker escaped?
Yeah. And if you look at the comics, what did it take to stop the Joker? You kill him. So
I kind of shuddered a little bit watching Superman snap his neck. Like, it's a little extreme to me. Your thoughts?
I agree, but at the same time, like I just mentioned here, they're taking the DC heroes down a different path, and you do what you have to do, and there was no other recourse for Clark, Kal-El, Superman to stop this person from just. He had the X-ray, that laser vision targeted on innocent human beings. There was nothing else he could do. He wasn't going to stop the heat vision, because he would have, all he had to do was cover his eyes and he would have taken it right back off and he'd start all over again. He knew the moment Zod decided, I am willing to take a life just because it hurts you and not worry about innocence of lives, Clark knew in that moment, all right, this guy's got to go. And it's an unfortunate side effect of having godlike powers. Sometimes you have to play God whether you want to or not. And, the choice to end a life is not an easy one. I can only imagine. Never been faced with that. Hopefully I don't have to in the course of my life. But if you are somebody who is capable of extinguishing life for the purpose of saving other lives from this terrible, terrible power, not a whole lot he could do at that point.
True. All right, before we get to the ratings, which I know is what everybody is waiting for.
Yes.
I have a rhetorical question, because I already know the answer to this, but I'm sitting here, I'm watching Man of Steel in the house the other day. Jonathan Kent is getting killed by the tornado, and I pop off just to make a funny with my roommates around, and I say, that's what you get for Waterworld. Am I a dick?
No. But the only thing I will ever say positively about Waterworld is the fact that we got to meet Christopher Daniels at Universal Studios playing in the water show. Other than that, yeah, it's pretty shitty.
Kevin Costner is notoriously known for his long ass dry movies, and here he is in Man of Steel.
Yeah. Again, I could get past most of Waterworld. It's very much like Travolta and Battlefield Earth. It's like, he's a great actor. Yeah, but that will forever be his yeah, but.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point we'll do Waterworld, but like,
I would be on the show.
at the end of the day, it was a brilliant concept, just horrible execution.
Yeah, there would. I don't. And again, to quote the shirt, we're talking about merchandising a little bit. Here's the thing: I don't know if that. I was going to say that movie might have flown better later. I don't think that movie ever does well. There's not a whole lot of. It doesn't age well. It's like that movie was old and stinky then. Like, it's probably aged like cheese now. Like, God, just. Ugh. But like I said, it's a hell of a show at Universal Studios that they still run to this day. So what are you going to do?
I know they got rid of Back to the Future, the ride, but they still have the Waterworld stunt show. Go figure.
Hey, Chris Daniels was employed because of that, so I'm okay with it.
All right, sir. It's that time.
Yes.
You know how we do it.
I do.
5 stars is the best. You can do halves, no quarters, no 3/4. Yep. What does the West Coast professor give the Man of Steel?
Oh, I'll say 4 out of 5. And people are going to think I'm being generous. I'm actually coming down from where, me. I very rarely dip below 5 because I love the stuff you review and I love the choices you've made for movies and the choice I get to be on, which is nice. If it wasn't so damn long, I'd probably give it a 5 because, like you said, it combines the best of the story arcs of both of the first two with Christopher Reeve. It combines them. It just doesn't compact them. That's the problem. Other than that, love it.
Okay, I feel that's fair. If you had asked me to rate this prior to this month, prior to me seeing the Christopher Reeve films, you probably would have been lucky to get 2 stars out of me for Man of Steel. But now I'm willing to give it 3.5 out of 5.
All right.
Like we discussed, there's definitely room for shortening for improvement on the runtime.
Oh yeah.
And don't get it twisted. It's not because I'm opposed to exposition and slow builds in movies.
Right.
Prime example, if I ever get to the Power Rangers movie that came out a few years ago, they slow built that so long before the Rangers finally got their powers.
Oh my God.
And I was okay with that when everybody complained.
Wow.
But this, I feel like, as we discussed, we know Superman's origin.
Right.
We know the essential story.
True.
Let's jump into the action here.
Right.
You know, and then the whole killing of Zod, so cold-blooded and brutally.
Yeah.
I might have given this 4 if it hadn't been for that.
If I may, before you jump out of this, I meant to point something out when you talked about it and I forgot. I understand Jonathan's not wanting Clark to reveal the powers to a lot of the populace, but to have him not save him from that tornado when everybody around it was just kind of what the effing anyway, probably wouldn't pay much damn attention to it in the first place, seems a little much to motivate Clark to that be the motivator to keep Clark to keep himself concealed. That, I mean, before, you know, it's pretty easy to explain it, but to have that, okay, well, I can't reveal now because my dad would have died in vain. Maybe that's okay, but just it was a little bit too overly dramatic for me personally.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, where we move forward about 18 months and we take a look at the dawn of justice, Batman v Superman. And I am very much looking forward to getting into that and digesting it and breaking it down, because there's a lot of little bits and moving parts to discuss with that film. And I'm very much looking forward to that. Jeff, before we sign off, is there anything that you'd like to plug or get out there?
Well, with any luck, and again, God Almighty, when you air Dawn of Justice premiere tomorrow, I will be en route to Irvine to finally see Jason Aldean. So if I don't answer the phone tomorrow, y'all, that's why. Because it's finally happening, and nothing else is going to stand in my way. And I will say this, hearing you read and the Dawn of Justice, it finally clicked on me that they meant Justice League. And this is the precursor to Justice League. It hit me right now in that moment. So this is how much my brain's been tuned in this whole month. So good night, everybody.
Yeah, you got to keep things in the grand scope. You know, we're going chronological timeline, so we already know Wonder Woman is out there and exists.
Yes.
But you have to remember, this was the first time we actually saw her within the universe.
Yes.
And we knew Superman existed because of Man of Steel. We were getting the introduction of Batman in the next movie, and how is he going to play into things, and the on again, off again rivalry / friendship between the Bat and Superman, between Bruce and Clark.
Yep.
And then there's that X factor when Diana shows up.
Yeah. If I may, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And like, I knew who she was. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's what we do. I knew who she was when she popped up at Lex's party. But I know that there's a ton of people that when she was exiting that airplane and they referenced her by name, popped like a freaking return for WWE. Like Punk coming out on AEW, Rocky coming out to be the guest host of Mania.
Yeah.
Like you name it, Cena at the Rumble. There were a ton of people that popped when they realized that was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So,
just great stuff tomorrow. And I'm mad. I'm pissed at myself also for watching this movie and having it brought to my attention through the dialogue that both Bruce and Clark's parents' mother is named Martha. I realized that when this movie came out. I much like my Marty McFly moment last week, I have failed. I am ashamed.
It's all good. The best is if you go and you watch the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and you listen to Holden McNeil's speech now that he's become a father, and he's talking about how you're your own destiny, you're the author of your own story, you're Bruce Wayne, but then you have a kid and all of a sudden you're Thomas, or Bruce's mother, whose name escapes me right now.
Exactly.
And I just want to reach through the screen and be like, damn you, Affleck.
Right, seriously. Yeah. It's really funny watching that now. It's really funny watching that now. Now that he actually has been.
That was after we thought that he was done being the Bat.
I know.
And he filmed that scene. And then he was the Bat again for Snyder's League. And could he potentially be coming back? Like, what a weird world we live in.
It very much is.
Anyways, to all my loyal fans and viewers out there that have been tuning in for the premiere, leaving your thoughts and comments way over there next to Jeff, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Likewise, to all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in a little bit later in the day, watching on demand, or enjoying the replay on the Jeff Meacham Network. Thank you very much. Appreciate each and every one of you. As always, I appreciate all my loyal fans and viewers out there that tune in on a regular basis. Show me that love, show me that support, trying to help me get those views up so I can eventually be monetized and, heaven forbid, start making some money on this venture. Thank you all for joining me, for tuning in, for watching. Thank you, Mr. Meacham, for joining me and allowing me to replay on your channel, as you do every other week when we don't have a new episode of The Dads, not always on wrestling. For the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham, I am the Renegade JJ Williams, and we will see you next time.